Hello and welcome to Spitfire, episode 53. My name is Brice, and if you're joining us here, Chris Tunn is here, but not here because he's in the background and he's ill. So welcome to the fourth bait podcast that's out there now, But more importantly, we have great guests. Our guest this week, of course, is going to be the Tactical Rab, bringing you back and his analysis for us. How are you?
Not bad, mate. Looking forward to the league now. It's been a hell of a long time. I think it's 5 months since champs or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's been a long one, but we're 2 days away. I'm actually surprisingly excited.
Oh, nice. And someone else who should be excited is, of course, Madcat, joining us from the London Royal Ravens. How are you, Dylan?
I'm good, yeah. I mean, if I weren't good, I wouldn't be on the show, you know what I mean?
Okay, good to hear it. Let's kick things off here. I put some topics out earlier that we're going to cover, and we'll probably cover even more. Big news, because it's the most recent thing that has just happened. The patch has kicked in. A patch just before the event. Fucking brilliant. So let's find out exactly what it does. I've actually just lost the patch notes. Can't believe this. Brilliant. I'm about 15 seconds in, but the patch has just dropped.
Hell of a ride.
To preface this, I can't believe you've lost them.
I don't know what happened with it. I had the patch and I bloody lost it. Hold on, I know where it'll be. It'll be on good old RCOD Competitive. The best goddamn subreddit around.
That's it.
There we go. Patch notes.
There we go, baby. Is it pinned at the top?
What is new? Okay. Where are the CDL things? Because nobody gives a shit about the playlist updates. 5 additional loadout slots. Not bad. But does that actually carry over into private matches? I don't know. I haven't checked yet. But if it does, that's actually pretty good. New weapon. That's irrelevant. Kill trigger. That's rubbish. Where is the stuff that really matters?
Scroll down.
Here we go. Call of Duty League. Things we care about. Domination flags must be neutralized before being captured again. Settings for neutralization and timing are now available in settings. That's a big change. That goes back to the ghost way of domination. Remember correctly?
Yeah, but it's
Go on.
No, I don't know. I'd have to see how it plays out, but it doesn't really change anything for me. Just purely because how domination used to work before, a big thing would be freight. Used to spawn back red. It was nade distance. Apart from probably hacking the yard, if you spawn green, if you've got the good spawns, you can throw the nade through the window. Gun runner, you can't throw no nades off spawn really. You got some distance to make. Yeah, and then the one Petrograd, it's not like you're in nade distance of the flag. If you're gonna lose the flag, you're gonna lose the flag.
Yeah,
that's the way. And you can't really jump on the flag on these games because they're either there or they're not there. They're not just gonna appear there.
Yeah,
it's a weird one how domination works in this game. I want to see it play out. I don't want to jump into conclusions, but I didn't think that was a major thing that had to be done. I think that there's a lot that needs to be done to this game other than neutralize flags.
Is this definitely being played on this weekend, by the way? Because I've heard
I've seen it both ways. Apparently, it is.
You'd presume so, but you would also presume they have the option to
play
on older patches.
And then Arcity replied saying, we've known that for a few days now. So.
I mean, unless there was unless 100% of the players want it done, then it'll be done. But I don't think that some of these teams that have the extra edge in the mechanic changes. You've got teams that have people are moaned about Atlanta who are abusing these mechanics that have the extra edge just purely because of one mechanic.
Yeah.
If I was there, I'd be fun. No, we're all right, thank you.
Yeah.
And then you can't really say you're changing it because that's what you've practiced on the past 3 to 4 months. What can you say to them? This change happened without them even being able to practice on that.
Yeah. So, I don't know. There are some interesting things in this. Going back to that domination thing before we move off of it, they haven't mentioned. So the way I played a ton of GBs of domination, but I can't remember how it works now. When you go onto a flag, say we're on a B flag and it was fully captured by red team, you go on it as the blue team. It's just one ring around. We'll switch that completely from blue to red, from red to blue, right?
Yeah.
Now, is it double the length of time, or is it just gets to neutral now in half the time? I don't know what that does.
I don't know. I don't have a PlayStation on me right now.
That's because that's something I haven't seen mentioned. I don't know if the timing's the same. Is it twice as long now to cap a domination flag, or is it just it gets neutralized in half the time?
I reckon they've just made it like Ghost, if in all honesty, like that'd be the most likely. But as I say, like,
was Ghost if you hit the halfway point, it was neutral?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it won't show neutral, will it? Because it does. You know, it goes that ring around the thing. You see it, so you know roughly how close they are to capturing it.
Mm.
Is that now going to go around the whole thing in twice the time? Because it's
I'm
halfway.
just assuming like it'll be the exact same time, but you'll have like a
you have to do it
line,
twice.
a
It's
line
two
for the
captures now.
middle. No, but I'm guessing there's a line for the middle, and if you hit that line, you're guaranteed a neutral. Was that not the Ghost? I can't
Yeah, that was the Ghost thing. Like 5 seconds into the cap, it went neutral. Another 5 seconds, you cap it. Like, I kind of liked it in a way because it at least made the maths part more interesting. Instead of like having it's always a 2 cap or it's always a 3 cap, at least you could have like 1-1 and then like you could neutral a flag and potentially still win and stuff like that. Like
it also adds the extra incentive where like if you're solo capping, you can get to that neutral, then back off and then play as a team rather than getting it halfway. They're still getting ticks even though you're halfway through. Then their team comes and you don't really have any leverage because that team has the flag. Like you have to go get it from them rather than both teams have to go get it. So it is a lot better. And one thing also is that a lot of it has to do with trophies. Like trophies are a massive part of why flags have to be neutralized, because if you can get that trophy down quick, like throw it down like you used to in like Black Ops 2 or what was the other game? Was it Black Ops 3?
I think that had them,
Yeah, like fast trophies, but this and Ghost, slow trophies. And the trophies aren't that good as well. So you got to think, like, if you have a trophy guaranteed to be able to throw it quickly and just sit on the flag, you've got a certain amount of cover. But on this game, your trophy doesn't even work half the time. And it takes forever. Like, but if the nade gets thrown or stunned by the top before, like as you're pulling it out, if it hasn't landed on the floor, you get hit with that nade. So they aren't guaranteed. So to have a bit more leverage on the flag rather than let's just lay in it and hope my trophy works is much better.
Let's talk about that because trophies apparently there is a decreased charge time. Funny enough, it's interesting you mentioned that, Dylan, because obviously, you know, going through the years in trophies and the systems we've had before, I remember, you know, Black Ops 2, you'd have essentially the ball you'd just throw, like you just launch a ball out, right?
And they used to
and you roll and set up. Black Ops, was it 3? It would be even fucking bigger, right? You could literally basketball that shit halfway, like over a fence.
Honestly,
And then what? In Black Ops 4, there were trophies as well. You know, you could throw them up obviously every so often or whatever. This game, I feel like the guys like having to assemble that shit on site, and then you don't. I even now am not 100% certain of the radius of some trophies.
I admit it. Like the other day, all 4 of us were stood on the top of a trophy. On top of it, people behind, people in front, people to the side, and nades were hitting us left, right, and center. I just didn't understand where. Like what I was looking at the trophy. Like, are you gonna shoot something? Like it's a weird one. Like trophies need looking at rather than let's throw them down quicker. Like they need looking at as a whole.
Best trophies are still Black Ops 2, I feel.
I mean, they were a bit too OP. Like
yeah, but what was it? 1 trophy, fast deploy, 2 projectile.
Yeah, but what you got to think, Brice, you could put a sentry gun on one spot, and you could have the trophies outside the map, and they would shoot them.
Yeah,
they were overly OP. Like they would.
When sentry gun was allowed as well.
Yeah. Well, on this one, it does seem like trophy systems are going to come out more frequently this weekend than they have been before. So I wonder if here's the thing though. And I don't know how to cover this, but the fact that this is coming out now, have we seen? Sorry, I don't know if we covered this because my head's all over the place. Have we talked about? Has it been confirmed? Because I've seen people say both ways which patch is going to be on this bloody weekend.
Who knows? Apart from the people competing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a tweet from Morks just here. It says, just found out we'll be playing on the new patch this weekend. Really don't understand how we're told we're the lifeblood of the league. Get action show otherwise. Tweeted that about a couple hours ago. And then RCT's replies, we've known for a while or something. So, I don't know.
It's interesting. It's interesting because these are not small changes. They aren't. The domination thing's fucking huge.
No.
Like, it's a whole, you know, imagine sitting there going, oh, should we be able to cap this in a couple of seconds and it's fucking neutral. So we should be seeing more trophy systems, right? Headshot multiplier is the next one. It's been clamped also, and headshots are now the same.
That's massive.
Yeah, for real.
It's gonna be interesting,
especially the fact that a lot of like these headshots aren't headshots. They're flinch headshots. They're like, as I call them, lucky headshots. Like,
yeah,
and it has been a big part of the game. Is people getting random kills because of lucky headshots where the other players had the first 2 bullets, and because he's hit you in your torso, you started shooting him, and then your 2 bullets hit the head. His first 2 bullets were cancelled out straight away. That honestly, no one can moan about that one.
That's a good one.
Weekend.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a change, but it's a change where you haven't you've not practiced to get lucky headshots, like.
Yeah.
So I think that one's a good one.
If it was just that, I don't think anyone would give a shit about the patch coming out this late. They'd be like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Apart from people who always get the lucky headshots. At that point, you got some slow reactions to keep getting them.
I find it funny how like even the professional consensus is like, yeah, if you're getting headshots, it's mostly just luck and flinch and that. Whereas like, obviously, it just seems stupid that it's still in the game, if you know what I mean, given that that's the professional consensus. Not like the pros aim for headshots, like deliberately try to. But yeah, for public matches, like they haven't changed the sort of pubs, by the way. It's just called like competitive specific.
Not unless you're from our Modern Warfare, you know, the greatest Call of Duty sub in the world. Because somebody said, "Oh, do you not aim for headshots?" No one aims at headshots on this game. You fucking idiots. It's not more tactical. You're an idiot. But yeah, so that multiplier, that's a great thing. I think that's fantastic. We didn't need the multiplier that's in there at the moment. Yes, it's less realistic, but you know, we're running around with guns like at full pelt just for the fucking hell of it. It's not a realistic game. And the last one for like balance changes. They've removed the lightweight boost and decreased charge time on dead silence. So you're not going to move faster, but you should get it more often.
Deadly is weird, man. Like
that's like Zeus. Like when you pop dead silence, like your character has a level of hitboxes that don't make sense. The movement's weird. Like the way you shoot's different. It's like it looks like you're playing PC. Like it's literally just weird. Like I don't understand how they didn't realize that they'd done that. Like and didn't fix it ASAP. Like you can see that you run faster. You can see that you have an advantage with dead silence. Like it's crazy. Like I've never experienced something like that before.
I suppose it's going to. I mean, I'm sure everybody's done it. You know, you pop Deadly at the start of a round to get an early flank or timing on. You know, people have done it. Now that's no longer going to be a thing.
It's such a stupid idea as well. Like, why would you package dead silence with lightweight? Like, it doesn't. I didn't never understood why that made sense. Like initially, I thought, oh, just because the field of view is changing, it feels like I'm moving quicker. And then Exclusive Ace did a video saying that, oh no, it actually does make you like 3-4% quicker.
Yeah, like especially with like how the cameras are. Like if you come around the court, like if cameras are bad without dead silence, imagine you running double time with dead silence. Like if I've got double time on S&D and I see the dead silence, I'm flying around the next corner to catch someone off guard because I know that camera's gonna. I'm just gonna camera him. And I've got an MP5 as well. Whooey. He's watching kill cam. Yeah, like I know I've won that gunfight. There's nothing he can do about that. Like,
is it? I think I was most surprised, not because it was in it, but that we didn't have a separate thing that was like, because I think some people might have used it. If you had a speed boost thing, like when Overdrive was in, if you had an ability charge that was that sort of speed boost, some people would probably use it. Right? Somebody might go, oh, I won't run this, so I'll run this because I know I'm going to get it at the start of next time, and I can hit this flank a bit earlier. I mean, they might not do because dead silence is everything at the moment. So we'll see, but that's an interesting one. But that's again, right? That removes some timings. That removes a few things people may have done for it. But we're going to see dead silence more often. For this game, which I think is a big thing.
I think it will make S&D more entertaining to watch. I don't think it necessarily will make it better to play, just because like without dead silence, you're so loud that right now you just have to wait for dead silence to make any sort of play, which means that at least people just won't be sitting around waiting for dead silence as long, which probably will make it better to watch. But like in terms of to play, like I do think the dynamic is still pretty strange that you could just pop dead silence and be completely silent.
But that's the whole point, like as well. Like it it throws people's timers off because if you realize that person hasn't got dead silence for the next round, how fast is it
That's
gonna
true.
come? Like people don't know the timings with the dead silence now.
Yeah,
They've changed.
yeah.
Like if you see it halfway and he might have it, you just don't know. Like I don't know. It is weird dead silence as like a specialist rather than a perk. It's just crazy. Like you're in a 1v1, you don't have it, so you're expecting to hear his dead silent footsteps, and then he flies around the corner behind you and kills you, and you're sitting there like,
Yeah,
But it is weird. Like when you don't have it, and you're like, the chances of you clutching is just minimal. Like they can just play with you and just run around where you aren't.
Yeah.
You got to go so slowly with that, Daddy. Especially in those 1v1s or
Yeah, but you go
1v...
so slow when they're planting the bomb and then time's ticking. You have to start running at some point.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing about that as well. Like, especially if they've got Daddy, they plant and then they've just popped it and just pissed off, and you're like, oh, good. Like either I sprint around try to find them because they've got the advantage now, on which they can hear me, or I don't, and they're just coming up around the flank at 80 miles an hour.
And it's not like CS where if a guy plants the bomb, there's only like one or two places he can be. Like he's either up top or on my level. Like on this game, he could be anywhere. Like he could like run around the map and you won't be able to hear him because he has dead silence. And then he runs out and he's in a good spot and you just don't know where he is. Or he pops it and does a flank on you. It's just weird, bro. Like
it's true though. Like
you just don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know if that is probably going to favor bomb planters even more. Just because you'll get it more often just to run rings around the guy trying to defuse.
Yeah, someone's brought up a good point. Especially some parts of these maps that we play are loud, like really, really loud. Like water, for instance, is outrageous on Gunrunner. You hear water from the other side of the map. You go, yep, there's someone pissing around the puddles. It's mad. One last thing we didn't cover in the patch notes, because it's not actually in the CDL bit. Trophy systems have been changed apparently. Increased protection radius. So whatever that protection radius was, it's now bigger. No idea what it is.
If that's not in the CDL, is that in?
I don't know.
CDL settings.
Well,
surely, I mean, if they're patching it, should be for.
So the CDL ones is just for when it's in CDL settings. So the headshot multiplier and publics, etc., will remain the same, I presume. But trophy systems on a whole have been increased or changed at least. Also, we need to mention the slide cancelling thing. That's obviously
that was a big one I was coming to next. And Tunn, I left a little message for you, mate, in the chat. But all right, let's Tunn put it out there. One last thing on the trophy system before we get there: decrease the radius and damage taken by trophy explosions. So no so much of team killing. I'm thinking.
I mean that's just positive things all around. But like the team killing needs to be addressed. Like, I mean, that's always been a thing. But like now, like they either work or don't work or just kill your team. Like they're not consistent. But I mean, if they're fixed them, then that's only positive things. No one can moan about them going into the weekend.
Yeah, I can see that as well. Let's move on to the last thing then. The biggest thing that everyone's been talking about. Slide cancelling is apparently fixed. From what I understand is, the animation gave an unintended consequence of there being no recovery time in it. So what they've said will now happen is that recovery time will always hit after a slide, but the animation will stay as it is. So technically, slide cancel, you won't be able to just quickly bang out again after a slide cancel. Apparently.
It's an interesting one because, I mean, Parasite was saying on Twitter, and I don't know the validity of this, but he was like, okay, yeah, you can't do quite what you used to be able to do, but you can still use it to camera people. Like, if you, like, it does still probably give you some relative advantage. It's just not outrageous like it was before. But of course, we're only just figuring this out because the patch only's just gone live. So we'll have to see what actual proper effect it does have. But obviously, it's a step in the right direction, but it's like, this could be a pretty big gameplay impact that no one's going to be able to practice on before the weekend, which is, probably more of an issue than this change.
Yeah. So, Dill, how have you been dealing with slide cancelling in your games?
I haven't noticed one person do it to me, to be honest. I don't think anyone's really mastered it over here. And if they have, I have not seen no one do it to me, honestly. I have not seen no one do it to me once. If they have, it's just gone over my head so much.
That was the thing, though, is that nobody else had really noticed whoever was doing it at the beginning of the game. What was it? Atlanta and Dallas were the ones that were doing it more than anyone.
Yeah,
and I think a lot of people didn't know much about it until Attach's video, and everyone was like, "Hold on, what?" So I don't know. Maybe they're doing it, Dylan. You just didn't realize. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. We need to go watch some VODs on. Sheesh. No, honestly, I don't think many people do it in Europe, and if they do, I must be just getting lucky and not getting hit with it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I can see that.
Team War have won 5 2Ks on the bounce. Why do you think that is, Dill?
Routers, man. I'm working with some deadline. I've had BT out more times than I've played a 2K, man. Bloody hell.
All right. A lot of people in the chat right now are calling for us to go through the game, but it's going to be the last thing we do because it's kind of like a very final thing and there's a lot to cover. So I want to get through the rest of these topics because there are some stuff I want to talk about before we get to that point. So hold on. Don't worry. We're going to get through it. But I'd like to take this opportunity to move on because the next one is the Call of Duty League is officially here. All right, we are ready to go into it. It is happening in a few days' time. People are already in Minnesota, ready to go. Obviously, I'm not. Neither's Tunn. But everybody else is ready to go. Yeah.
We're not the only ones that not there though, Brice.
Yeah, let's make it. Let's make it better.
It's true.
It doesn't make it. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
Oh, I'm joking. I wish it could just be everybody, one big happy family. But a few things I want to go through. It looks like team camos and stuff are coming. All these in-game drops and such you can get to. Although it was deleted, so I don't know what's going on anymore. Rab, have you got any news on that front?
Yeah. So effectively, what happened is it's a bit strange. They said, we're doing team camos. We've got all the things, like the things you can put on your gun, the outfits. Like, honestly, a lot of it is kind of cool. It's all basically the same. They've just changed the colors, just like what they did with the merch drops, which, okay, whatever. It's kind of lazy, but it's still something that you feel like has to be in the game for a franchise game. So they bring it up. It's up in the game for like a couple hours. If you go on Modern Warfare, you can find on the screen, it will say like, get ready for the league or whatever. And then for some reason, they just got rid of it and it just vanished without a trace. And then a few hours later, after I made yesterday's video, Charlie Intel said that it was now back up. So I think, I don't know, maybe they put it up a day too early and someone realized and they were like, shit, we should take this down. And then common sense prevailed and like, well, what's the point? No one even knew it was a mistake. Might as well make it known. Obviously a good thing, something that has to be in the game, really. It's actually in the game probably earlier than it's ever been in the game, right? If these camos.
Well, it's not. It's not like as complicated as some of the other camos we've had, to be fair.
True that, yeah. But at least Black Ops 3 and World War 2, I think it was much later in the cycle. So that's some positives.
I swear Black Ops 3 was a week before Champs, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, we have camos, but League play, well... Yeah, the league starts on Friday. But
we're running those
in
the GB.
True that.
Holy shit.
No comms even. Like, at least in Black Ops 4, they said, start of December, league plays coming. Then they were like, actually, start of January.
Yeah.
Then late January. Then it came like, mid-Feb or something. But at least there was the comms. Like, at least we kind of knew it was happening.
I feel like it's probably been postponed because I feel like, the rumors of BR and everything like that.
Oh, yeah, true.
What's going to be priority? What's going to be priority? You know it's going to be BR.
It has to be comp, right?
Well, yeah, you say
even though BR was a hit last year, what did they really do with it? Like, people were playing it, but what were they really like?
I don't think they expected it to bang like that. I think
how did they not? Look, BR is popping, or was popping when they brought it out. So how could you not expect it to do good?
Well, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, right? It is weird because I was thinking about this earlier, and this isn't just about BR. This is about this league play thing everyone's banging on about. We went from World War II and having the GB integration, which had its issues because it was still P2P. As much as they said it was dedicated servers, you had to make sure the first person in the lobby had an open NAT, or everyone couldn't get in, or it's split into 2 lobbies, or whatever. If everyone remembers that shit. Then we went to have league play, which arrived late last year, and this year nothing. Like there's very, and it's causing people to not stream the game as much. I think is the problem because you don't have here's what I remember happening. In World War II, like people would get GBs because getting GBs was easy then in World War II. Like you could just do it and then you didn't have to add people and wait for them to reply. You just go in the lobby.
Good, man.
Last year you had Blackout, which people would stream, or if they want to play Blackout, they were going to rank play. You know, like I think Benson just didn't play Blackout; he just played rank play with his subs all the time. This year it's pubs or piss off, or gunfight, which is kind of a halfway house because people like to bring like big teams in, and that's where a lot of the stuff is. So obviously, like we're waiting to see what happens, and we've got the rumors of the BR, and we've got rumors of all this other stuff. So it's an interesting time for Call of Duty in the content side, and it depends what people want to do.
Have they actually came out and said there's a BR coming in this game?
No, but we've been hearing rumors of it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like they need to. It's the same old thing. Like they've got better at it, but it's still so bad. Like it's this point in like the franchise in the game. Like how many years we take steps back. Like the communication is still not there. Like the communication this year started good. And then they realized that like people weren't happy, and then it became sarcasm communication, and like really diluted and sarcasm, and it's just they kind of got like salty with everyone's like they got involved a bit too much, and I guess the game won as what people like wanted like when it came out, so they didn't like it. They didn't like that sort of negative backlash, and because they were so vocal for this 1 year only. They were like, "Oh, let's just go back to how he was before. We're not going to give him anything."
Yeah, I mean, I remember Clayster did a tweet saying that like the communication with Activision is good. It's just the actual comms with the devs just hits a brick wall, right? Which I guess you kind of see personified in what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah.
I remember on Black Ops 3 when that league started, we had I don't know exactly how you call it. We had like a Reddit sort of thing, which was only league players were allowed to post on it.
Yeah. I'm still in that somewhere. That still exists.
Yeah, and then after Black Ops 3, that died and nothing happened with it. I'm pretty sure it died like somewhere between in Black Ops 3, but it didn't fully die. But then when it got to like Infinite Warfare, it just nothing happened. But that was quite good for like feedback because there was somewhere where everyone could post something and then everyone had their positive feedback. Like,
yeah, that used to be it. I think it's been taken down now. I just tried to look for it. But yeah, that was good. It was interesting because I think that got like tailed off towards the end as well. But no, the league is here. It's going for what I understand, and this is so. There are some things we knew. Like I knew the camos for players were coming like a little while ago. The BR thing I've never heard of a solid rumor on. From what I understand of the opening weekend, it's going to be like it could be the biggest event of the year. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest events of the year. It is the launch. So from what I get, they're going above and beyond for this. So don't expect Minnesota every week.
Well, I'm assuming that it's going to be quite big because it's the opening weekend, and as we know, opening events do just as well as they're literally pretty much up there with the Anaheim and Champs. Like they probably are the third, if not the second best event of the year in terms of viewership wise, because the game's fresh, people like to see it. But where we get into it here is that the old system, which they kind of realized no one wants to watch league games in COD. Like you can just tell they're not the players. You can see it on their faces. They're not what what a tournament game is. Like being in the league, like when you go to a league game and you've got one game that day, you just don't have the intensity. The casters are not excited as much. It's just not the viewership experience is not what it used to be. There's not much on the line until like the last couple 2 weeks, and it's just not what it used to be. And especially last year when I was watching, it come to a point where I only used to watch Group A because like Joe and that were in there, the Rec lot were in there. Group B to me, I didn't even watch it, and I live and breathe COD. Like I didn't even watch it because it was just stale, and I could just see people didn't. So like half of the games, people didn't even want to be there.
That's that's
league play like that gets like that though, doesn't it? It's that, and I think that's why they changed it. They had to. I think it's.
But like now, like the tournament system, like are we going to talk about that? Because I had a good point about.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to get to that. We'll go. I'll tell you what. Before we get to that, because there are a few things I want to talk about. We'll go into the league system and how it's all playing out as we go into it. There was one thing that I've banged into the chat for you guys to take a look at, because this came up during the week, and it was a power rankings for teams that have technically never really played a competitive game against each other.
Where am I going for this?
Right. So all you got to do is click on Zoom. There's a little chat thing. It says chat down the bottom in the bottom bar. And then you just got to click on the tweet, and then it'll bring up the power rankings. And this was done, I believe, voted for by CDL players and coaching staff. So it should be more accurate than some I've seen, because there were a few power rankings I was going to haul over the coals for being frankly stupid. But this one's a little bit better. And this is how power rankings, in my mind, should really be done. I don't think fan opinion always is the best way to do it. And that's not because I don't have faith in the fans. It's just that I don't have faith in the fans to be impartial.
But you got to think, like, I find it quite funny as well. So there was a Reddit thread made about the London team.
Yeah.
And I know exactly what games have been on the stream. Like, I've watched all their games. Like, even the games that are off stream, I've had access to. And I know which ones are on stream. And for someone to comment on how good each player is absolutely comical. They've probably played about 4 or 5 sets on stream, and that's been generous. So to comment about, I remember someone saying that Dylan wasn't that good and Job was the best player on the team. I'm like, have you, like, Dylan?
Yeah, I've heard.
Dylan is a hard carry. Like, Dylan might be, if not better than last year on this game at this precise moment in time. Like, yeah, like yeah.
I've heard that. That's the funny thing. I've actually heard that as well. I've heard he's a little bit good at this game, a little bit tasty.
I'm curious on this London team. I am curious.
Tasty, baby.
That's how power rankings should be, right? Now, throwing it back, I've done power rankings in the past, but of players, and the way I did it, way back when, because I thought that was the best possible way to do it, was I sent out forms to everybody. And this was the EU power rankings, though. You probably remember me doing this. I sent out forms to everybody where they could vote. And then I took all the votes in, distributed all the points. It took me ages to work out like where everybody put everybody. Gave it the aggregate.
Well, that's what they've done with this one, right?
Yeah, that's what this one should be. And that's how I think a power ranking should go, because a lot of the time, if you just want to be an analyst and figure it out, and this is your personal opinion, unless you're basing it on something concrete like facts or statistics, I think it's usually bullshit. But these players will have played each other. Obviously, the outliers here, from what I understand, are Paris and Gorillas, because they haven't really been scrimming. So you just go at the bottom. Like, you just go automatically at the bottom, because that's pretty much going to work. No one's played you. So this is the power rankings that have come out, and we'll see whether or not we agree with this, what we think about it. First, Atlanta FaZe are in first place, which, they weren't 2 months ago. That's not what everyone was thinking. Then Dallas Empire, Chicago Huntsman, the Minnesota Rocker. I still don't know how to say that. I'm not.
I'll just give up and say Rocker.
The New York Subliners. Then it's Seattle Surge, and that's the top 6. So that's top half of the league, right? Then it goes the Florida Mutineers, OGLA, London Royal Ravens are in 9th, Toronto Ultra in 10th, and then you got the Gorillas and the Legion. The Legion are dead last. Rab, let's go for your first thoughts on that then. What kind of stands out to you there?
I mean, it kind of makes a lot of sense. Like, as Mr X3LA bot has just put in the chat, like, given the meta right now with the SMGs and with Crowder as coach, like, if there was going to be an SMG meta, there was going to be one team that was always going to that you felt like were always going to be one of the best teams. So FaZe obviously makes sense as number 1. The question, of course, about this is how many people did Crone manage to reach out to, in terms of, was it equally distributed for every team? Like, I know EasyMac, the guy over at FaZe, did these rankings. So it's like, okay, FaZe have more staff. Do they get more votes, I guess, in the whole system? So maybe FaZe and Empire could have been closer if, we don't know how it was distributed, right? Mm-hmm. But yeah, the top 3, I guess, makes sense right now. The fact that Huntsman is pretty much dead on 3 makes me think that really no one put them first, which is pretty interesting.
I don't think I gotta disagree with you there. I don't think anybody is putting them first, because
I think it's fair. But
it's just... there was that one power ranking that put them first for no fucking reason, which caused that was the Deserter one. That was Hasbro, wasn't it?
Baby,
yeah. Sorry, continue on.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I guess the biggest standout here is the Rocker, if we're just going to pronounce it that way, because we kind of don't know. I guess when these teams were announced, it was like, okay, if say FaZe, Empire, and Huntsman were going to be your top three, who are you going to put fourth? You're probably going to put Optic up there on the announcement. You're probably going to put Subliners up there. Rocker and Surge probably would even be higher than Rocker in a lot of people's estimations. So they're probably the standout here, because I've been hearing a lot of people say they're really good. Like, and I kind of expected it, because you've got Silly and Assault. Like, let's not forget what they were doing in World War II. And then you've got Alex, of course, who I think is just fantastic. Asim is like a pretty damn good utility player that was decent last season, even though he's a bit over-aggressive at times, but I guess they've got him railed in. And then who am I missing on that team? God, our X, of course, right? It was just superb last year. So that's like the biggest standout to me. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how they play this weekend.
I can see that. Then obviously you've probably been involved with the Royal Ravens on their run up and their prep for this. So don't give away anything too much, or depending on what you've actually seen here. What do you make of these teams? What do you make of this power ranking?
I think what Rab said before is he was allocated. Was everyone allocated the same amount of votes from each team? That's actually a good point. But other than that, I don't really see anything out of the ordinary. Bar, I feel like Royal Ravens could have gone up a couple spots, maybe two. But if anything, if they went up, I think Optic probably could have dropped down one. I don't think they're that great at the moment. They look very horrible.
So something to note in here as well, actually, Dylan. Sorry to interrupt you. If you have a look at the scores down the right-hand side, from 6th to 9th is relatively close. There's a bit of a jump between Optic and Royal Ravens. So obviously he's put them in like order, and that's sort of where everybody's had them. So it's pretty close between 6th and 8th specifically. 6th and 9th aren't too far off.
No, but I would say that I could tell you the top 3 and the bottom 3, but everywhere in the mix, I haven't got really the slightest clue. I haven't watched much of Seattle, Florida. I've watched New York a bit. I'm not sure about Rocker. I heard that they should be up there, to be honest. Like a
think they fell on
dark horse,
right,
but like I could tell you that Gorilla should be down there. I could tell you Paris should be down there.
Yeah, but is that so? This is my next point,
but
right?
The thing that gets me is the Toronto one. Is that representative of the teams that have been keep? Because that first team that's been put out there this week has only been playing the last week together, if I'm correct. They haven't been playing a lot together. There's been a certain subs have been jumping in now and then. So I don't think that Toronto should be accurate. They might be better than that, but I think from what I've saw, they should be there, but their main team hasn't played enough to be given an accurate score, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing about this is I kind of agree with you, Joe, saying it doesn't look too far out of the ordinary. So I want to cover the bottom 4, and for very good reason, because they're all have this kind of a similar storyline with them. Let's start with the Ravens, right? The Ravens, from what I understand, weren't able to get the play. When everybody was grinding and getting into it, and a lot of people were judging off the scrim shit that came out. Ravens weren't able to do that. There was some visa stuff. They didn't have their whole team together.
They could have.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard some stuff, but they didn't have.
But solid, because obviously visa issues and whatnot.
Yeah.
But in terms of actually practicing, they could have. So let's not give them. Obviously, they are very good friends of mine, but let's not give them all the excuse in the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. No, I think I'm not giving an excuse. I think it's more perception, right?
Because if we put it that way, Alex was scrimming for Minnesota for weeks on end in England.
Yeah,
and if not, he was their best player from watching streams, and he was playing from over here.
That is true.
Yeah.
I suppose that's another reason why the perspective is coloured, right? The context is the Ravens just haven't played and prepped as much as the other teams, and we'll see whether or not that holds true going into this weekend.
Yeah,
but that's why they may be down there.
I mean, they should be fine realistically in your hard points, like hard point, and there's not much to it on this game. Like squad spawns, like it doles down it a lot. But what I'd want to see from this weekend is what everyone's S&D looks like. Because if you put some teams in the tournament right now, you'd see some high a very lot of high placings because they're well-rounded. Like, they've had to play S&D. they've had to perfect the dominations and the S&Ds because we've had 2Ks, right? We've actually had something to play for. Whereas a lot of these teams probably haven't even looked at S&D much recently, and they're probably all in the same boat as they're not that in depth with it.
Yeah, no, I get that. And then, funny enough, like some of these teams have a seriously big coaching staff, right? Like they should be able to do some shit in this off season with S&Ds, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing how they play it. Especially S&D on this game is a little bit weird for me as well.
But if you haven't, they might go in a private match and figure out certain spots, certain strats, or certain smokes, or little starting strats. But if you've never practiced reps in, you don't know what works out, or you might throw a strat in there and you might have scrimmed it twice, Brice, map. You might have played it 4 times, and that might have worked 80% of the time.
Yeah.
But there's a team that played it 10 times because they've played it, so you never know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Dill, just make sure your mic's plugged in there properly, fella. It's cutting out now and then.
Is that better? Hello.
Yeah. It just keeps dropping every now and then.
Okay.
Speaking into the thing, so it was like popping and whatever.
Yeah, all good. Maybe that was it. Then, so saying that, but here's the thing: Ultra, from what I understand, haven't had that issue because this was because they're a unique team. Toronto Ultra are a unique team by any stretch of the imagination. They filled all their sub spots. They took 10 players. They didn't even announce who was playing until recently.
I'm guessing that from what I know, they were assuming that they could have 5 players playing for the academy team and have a team in the path to pro, but that wasn't. They didn't understand that until after, which I don't kind of get because surely you've thrown that much money into a league spot, you should know the rules.
Yeah. But it kind of been easy, right? Like, think about that. Think about the dynamics of that team. All of your 10 players are wanting that first team spot. You're not really signing anyone up with the perception of going onto that sub spot. You've gone, right, we'll try people out, and who's best, we'll get into the team. We'll try people out, right? And they must have been doing it. So they must have had to have a workload bigger than any other team because they're not able to do the same thing of just, these 5 keep playing, learn this shit, practice this shit, rips, adjustments, decision-making. This is the stuff we need to change, right? That's a normal team will be doing that. Ultra have got to go, I don't know, S&D there wasn't fucking great. What about this guy? He didn't hold the flank well. We'll change him. So there's another dynamic.
You've got the depth, but you haven't got the repetitions in the same 5 people because you might get 4 reps with this 5, and then you sub this person out, and then they've got to get a whole new rep with this guy, and then you change this person out, and it keeps becoming a cycle. Like, whereas you got other teams that got set 5. They're going over the mistakes. They're getting their reps in. They're learning together, working together. Whereas, from what I understand, like the Toronto team, chop and change, and it's almost like you're starting over again. And then the team that so who the first team is because you've got certain people who are locked in. So if you're playing with them people, you are playing with the first team for that day. Mm-hmm. So if you're playing the second team, do you really care? Do you really care if you want to improve X, Y, and Z? Because that's your competition. Like, you want to get out of this team and you want to be in the other session. Well, do you really care about improving the guy in your team? Like, really? Like, maybe if you're really that selfless, but no one's really that selfless to be like, let's improve him and get him in the first team. No, like, I want to be in the first. Do you know what I mean?
Here's another interesting bit, and this. Please bear in mind, right? Love Dom and love Marky to bits, right? Massive fans of those two, but here's where I'm a little bit worried about what's going on in that team because I haven't heard, and I may be wrong here, right? I could be completely off the mark because I haven't heard the inside track. If you're going to have a team with 10 players, right? If you're going to have this, what essentially they've done, they've recruited in depth. They have versatility, they have variety, they can make changes in a fluid setup. Well, then you need to analyze these teams properly and figure out these players and how to develop them and everything. But I only know Marky as coach. I don't know if there's any other coach.
So that's the thing right now that they are struggling with right now. And
they need more coaches.
Well, I don't even have to know. They are definitely struggling with that. That you have a team playing. You have 2 teams playing.
Yeah. So
Marky watches the first team, obviously, because he has to put emphasis on the first team. Because what's the point watching the second team, right?
Yeah.
So he watches the first team, helps him out. but then he got to go help the second team, and the only thing he's got is VODs, and it's not. It's hard because then there's not emphasis on the first team if then they've got to go help the second team, it's also like you've got a team where you got a team like London, you got 3 coaches.
Yeah, that's what
there's workload to be distributed of. You go sort that situation out, and I'll sort this one out, and then this person can go do that, or you go do the stats for this week. I'll sort the S&D out, and then you focus on the hard points this week. With the Marquis got to do the first team's hard point domination S&D, the second team's hard point dominant S&D, while focusing individually on each person by developing them. He can't even get to that point at that point. No, developing is out of the question. Like the workload is too much for him. He needs help.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be honest with you, Dill. You nailed my point there exactly, and it's something that thinking about it irritates me because I think Toronto. I like Toronto's idea, right? I spoke about it in previous podcasts. I like the idea. Big respect for them, but Markey, as great as he is, there's no fucking way he can deal with that much workload. He said, "You're right. London has 3 coaches." If they wanted to, they can leave a coach to watch the subs and go, oh, we'll figure out whether these subs can be used, what's the strengths, what the weaknesses, what can they bring to the team, and still have 2 other coaches to look at 5 players. Markey has got to do so much work. He's not even a strategic coach. Markey's got to do too much work for 10 players. If you're going to have 10 players and you're going to go for this strategy, right, as much as I can agree with it, if you aren't going to have the infrastructure behind them, to actually use them at their full capability, you might as well just sack some players and make them coaches.
Well, yeah, you've basically wasted your time and money.
Well, yeah, how's Marky going to make a decision for players he can't see most of the time?
But this is the thing that's very confusing about that situation is that Mark went from head coach last year to strategic coach this year.
Yeah, I'm
so where's his head coach coming?
Yeah, there is no head coach.
They advertise for it? They
advertise for it. So basically, like they've made him strategic coach as doing the acting head coach.
Yeah.
So basically, that's like Man United, right? Man United right now is saying to Ali, like you're strategic coach, but there's no coach, there's no manager coming in.
Yeah. I won't have Marky be disrespected comparing him to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer just like that.
It's got that one.
It's weird. It's weird, and I hope that we're wrong, right? I hope that they've got coaching stuff in the background. I heard they wanted to get in somebody with more coaching experience, which makes sense. But I feel bad for anybody on that second team because how are you ever going to shine or prove you're good enough if they don't have a chance to watch you? Like you can't just watch a VOD once or twice and figure it out. Like it's difficult. That's a lot of shit to take in. I'm a professional Call of Duty watcher. I've done it my entire career, and even I can't absorb that many games. It's horrific. Yeah. So I hope they're going to figure this out, right? I hope that Toronto have got their shit screwed together, and the people behind them, I think, do. But I just hope that they come in sooner because if the Toronto Ultras, as it currently stands, have a 10-man roster and are probably using 40% of it right. Because you just can't do it. Marky's a fantastic guy, but he's not a superhero. He's not a fucking god.
Like Mark's a guy with loads of energy as well, but even Mark's energy wouldn't be able to get him that far.
What's the guy going to be working? 16-hour days?
No sleep.
Yeah, for
like how are you gonna look at a player like for less than an hour a day or something? And that's if you work 10 hours a day, right? It's not like I said. London have 3. Toronto with a bigger roster have fucking 1.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You, like somebody put in there. Like I hope Toronto figure it out and they find the right guy. I would suggest they get. And this is just going. Fuck it. I'm just ranting. This is how I would suggest they fix that. Right. If they're going to have Marky as strategic coach, great. Marky he's known COD. He's an ex-pro player. He knows his shit. They're going to want an assistant coach. And the reason for that is that assistant coach can be delegated things to that isn't as important. They probably have an analyst, but that assistant coach can go and watch the sub team if he needs to. He can work out, some of the bullshit, the paperwork, anything they need to, because there needs to be more together with the team. The head coach, if they go and find one, is going to have to be someone that knows how to work with people. Right? He's going to have to organize this shit and figure out, where are the big decisions, because Marky then is allowed to concentrate on the strategic aspects of the game. And that's what they should be using him for. His knowledge, his insight into how a player thinks and how it goes at the competitive level, because he's good at it and he knows what he should be doing. Everything else should be taken away from him. He should be allowed to focus on the S&Ds, allowed to focus on the hard points. Then you get, and he can have his insight into players. But you have a head coach who basically works well with people and can get the most out of people. Doesn't have to know Call of Duty as well. Just has to know how to organize and distribute and delegate the correct work to pull this shit together without having to do all the rest of it. Because it's too much for Marky right now. And I could be wrong, right? Marky could be like a fucking wizard and be smashing it out of the park, and they could kill this weekend. But I genuinely believe it may be too much for Marky, and I hope they've got more people in the background, but I just don't know yet. Rant over. Sorry,
no one that's announced.
That was a rant. That was sheesh.
Yeah, he's going.
Sorry, it's just one of these things. Like, I like these people. So I get passionate about things I like. Like I like fucking Marky. I like these people, but for me, it's a very much of a purist thing, Mecca. And you'll know this, right? We've spoken for a long time about shit, right? About after events, we've had conversations in the bar. We've had screaming arguments in bars after events, right? You know me, I'm very forceful with this stuff. Mm-hmm. But I want to see the best of it. And I have friends in that team, and I like players in that team, and I want Toronto to do well. Yeah, like please show me. Like, just I don't even, I have no particular feeling of who wins this weekend, but just show me that you're doing the right things. Show me that everything is in order, because that makes me happy. I am more interested in the infrastructure and how these teams are working together than anything else. But I don't know. That's just me. Anyway, Brad, you got anything to add?
No, you could everything. Like, I'm pretty sure show's over already.
I said I was in a weird mood today. I did say that.
All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. It'll be on YouTube.
I think Brice has covered the next 5 episodes as well.
Yeah. We're still going to cover the games. Anyway, let's move on. The Gorillas. And so the Gorillas is an interesting one because...
Trash that. Nah, move on. They're just terrible to put it that way.
Yeah, but I had a really weird rumor, and I don't know if this is true, right?
You heard what rumor, Brice?
That Ake said he isn't going to play until the patch.
What patch?
Mate, what?
What patch?
True. Like that sounds like bullshit.
Wait. I guess his first scrim was today, right?
Well, apparently they held off on scrimming because they were expecting a patch, and I thought that was just bullshit.
I did hear that as well. I did hear that as well, but I don't know what patch they were waiting for.
What?
The problem with, that's why a lot of people have been saying this is the argument the other week about slide cancelling in there. Why everyone should stop doing it because it's going to be fixed, etc., etc. But I don't know how much that came to actual fruition.
Yeah, honestly, if I was a pro in this game, you're not taking anything for granted. Like, if you're expecting a patch, it's like, nah, just got to play the game as it is. There's no point wasting time.
I remember we had a scrim section for 6 p.m. and someone was like, yeah, there's a patch coming out, an update coming out at 6. I was like, no, we're starting this game. I don't believe a word you're saying right now. And it never came out. I was like, I don't believe a word you're saying. Until he says update ready, we're not stopping this scrim. I don't believe, because I remember that a month into the game, I was told that the B flag on Petrograd was moved. 2 months later, I still haven't seen this flag being moved.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was. So I don't know what's happened with the Gorillas, other than they've not had the best of starts.
Yeah.
Someone's got to be 11th and 12th. Yeah,
that is true. That is one thing that people need to bear in mind here. And this is
everyone has to be there, but at least with Toronto Ultra, they've been playing and it's not that good. I guess Paris is different because they have a transatlantic team and they had to go sort their visas. There weren't even 5 people in the same continent to play with each other. Yeah. So I guess theirs is a bit different. And they did play, they had played quite a bit when they was in Europe. They were boot camping in Paris.
You must have played them a bit, right, Dale? Are they any good?
I mean, they showed us there was one scrim where they really went in on us, and then I don't know what happened that day, and then they just went back to the same old Paris. They had one day where they were smoking us, but we had 10 different scrims and we were just smoking them. And I think that was a general consensus that the top AM teams in Europe were just smoking them.
I heard this as well.
We'd say we played them 10 times, 9 times we smoked them. They smoked us once. It was literally the second to last time we played them, they smoked us. And then the last scrim before they left to go home, it was a straight casket scrim. But I mean, like scrims not everything, but they are a good indication of where you're kind of at.
Yeah.
And I guess they had a long break. It's just like it's a team that should get better over time. Honestly, I'd like to think so. But I think at that point, yeah, 11, 12 is about where they are.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I can see it. I don't think a lot of people have faith in Paris. So I'm very curious to see what they do. And you never know, right? You never know until the chips are down. They are the firm underdog team of this, and I think everybody's kind of put them in that position. But who knows? I'm very curious to see how the benchmarks actually hit after this weekend. And speaking of this weekend, it's time now to move on to speaking about this weekend specifically. So first of all, we got that this thing about it's like 10 CDL points for each series win, right? This weekend, it's slightly different because they've changed it, but they couldn't change this one in time.
It's so bad, but yeah. I mean, Madcat, do you want to hit us with your point that like we've been saving up for an hour?
Sheesh, what was the point? Oh yeah, like if you go to these tournaments and you start getting rounded, you come out with 0 points. What is like the next? If you place like 7th to 8th, you get 0.
This.
But what's the next like?
Yeah,
if you're not doing well in these tournaments and like and these tournaments are because you've got to remember like a lot of these like there's only half of these teams go in there. So say if you have an easy weekend where like there's not that like Dallas's aren't there, Chicago, Atlanta's aren't there, like you kind of need to be hitting them top threes, like top 2, top 4 minimum. If you flop at that, boy, and then the next couple of weeks you have the Dallas's there and you have the Atlanta, and you start hitting them round 1.
Yeah, that's tough for you.
Like, and then also you got to think like you might have a slow start to this, but this league, but unless you back it up by start winning these tournaments, like what is it? The bottom 4 teams don't make it to playoffs.
Yeah.
The 7th to 8th is it 5th to 6th or 7th to 8th? How many teams?
You talking like champs at the end of the season, kind of?
Yeah. So if you're
top 4 make it, and then like 2
top 4,
yeah,
top 4 make it, then 5th to 6th. Do they play each other?
Yeah, I think like maybe top 4 make it.
No, there's 5 teams in the league. So you got top
2 are out, and then the rest.
Yeah, I think it's top 4 go through. The 4 play a wild card, and then bottom 4 out. So if you're having stinkers at the start, like we're saying, like you've got LA Gorillas and Paris and Ultra that aren't just not there at the moment. I don't think they've got what it takes to make up for it in the second half of the league. Because these teams aren't going anywhere. The FaZe, your Empires might, like Chicago, they're not going anywhere. They aren't going to get that much worse. So unless you get that much better, you can't make up for it. And there's 4 teams that don't make it. So like, if we're looking at the list right now and we go off this list, Royal Ravens, Ultra, Gorillas, and Legion don't make it. Like that's some big names that don't make playoffs. Like if we're going through right now, Dylan Codd does not make playoffs. Out of what I've seen in this game, if he does not make playoffs, I don't even know.
That's mad, actually, thinking about that. Like, can you imagine one of these big teams doesn't make playoffs?
But then you got to think, like, then 2 other teams don't make it. So, say if we're just going for like from Florida down, like Optic Gaming did not make playoffs. Like, just Slasher does not make playoffs. Like,
yeah, that's
crazy. Like this 3 months was probably as big as the next 3 months, purely because the start of the league does mean something. Like this is not a league where you'll win. You might go 0-6 and then you make up for it with wins, and then you might lose the games you might lose up to the top 3. Like you might play the top 3 several times, like more than twice, because it's a tournament format. Like you kind of have to make up for it.
It's good in a way because teams can't mess around, because like typically what might happen is, as you're saying, a team might go 0-6, but towards the end of the season, the teams that are at the top, they're trying out new metas, maybe they're trying out different weapons, and like they're not taking it as serious once they're locked in. But now like you can't really mess around. Like if you come 7th, 8th at one of these weekends, so you go in your group, you lose the 2 games, you're out straight away, you get no points. If you come 5th, 6th, you get 10 points. If you make it out the group, you get like 20, second place 30, first place 50. Like that, like it's pretty big. If you win a weekend, like you're making it up. And I also just want to say, like based off this first weekend, of course we'll go through the schedule here in a second.
Yeah.
But it's intriguing how this has worked out in terms of like, let me get back on the launch weekend here. Like some teams, they've designed this first weekend so like the best teams are playing the other best teams, and the matches are exciting. But because the league doesn't follow on from this, as we said, we just get 10 points for a win this weekend, and then effectively that's your starting point. You either have 0, 10, or 20 points, and then that's where the league kicks off from. Obviously, that's not really a big deal over the course of it, but like if you're a Dallas Empire or something, this weekend you're playing FaZe and you're playing Huntsman. Like that's a tough weekend. Like that's the only 2 series you're playing. You could go 0-2. Whereas if you're like a Seattle or something, you're playing Florida and you're playing Ultra. Like that's it's a much better start to the weekend, and it doesn't work like it was planning to. I imagine where Seattle might play 2 worst teams in theory first weekends. But then over the rest of the course of the season, they're playing the other best teams. Whereas right now, you're just getting a better start if you're a worse team, effectively. So that's an interesting thing, but I don't think that will really affect the outcome of the season.
No, I get that. You are right, though, because when we go through this, bearing in mind that power rankings we had before, right? Like where these teams should technically be positioned. Well, let's go straight into this, right? Let's go straight into these matches. We'll talk about what we think are our favorite matches to see, and we'll give a rough idea of who we think is going to win these matches, because obviously right now, a lot of it you shoot in the dark. It is a shot in the dark. You don't really have as much information as you'd like to make analysts. But so we kick off Friday in our local time zone at 10:30 p.m. Chicago Huntsman versus Dallas Empire. And it's obvious why they started with this one. It's like super obvious, right? This is technically Optic versus Envy all over again. But who do we think wins out of this? Because a lot of Dallas have been the big runners from basically the start.
Yeah, it's a big game to kick things off. Like that's
Scump Crim.
Yeah, that as well. Let's not get it twisted. It's an absolutely crazy game to start.
Let's not get it twisted. I've got FOMO written all over this.
You think?
Yeah.
It's really hard to say though, because both these
teams
are
on LAN, boys.
It's a massive game. Like this really could go either way. Like this game to start off the tournament, like the year, like they've done it right. Like if there's one game where you're looking at both teams, you've got Crim on one side, Scump on the other.
And I think doing this one as early as possible so you get the European viewers in as well as the American makes sense as well.
It's a storyline. Like the storyline's too crazy. Like it's years and years of history between certain people, and it's the biggest people in the esport, right? So it's crazy. And then like both teams are quite good as well. So it's like, boy, like, I mean, I'd be front row in this game. Like if I was there, like. If your boy was there, like I'd have my seat ready. Like,
it's gonna be a hell of a kickoff. That is without a doubt one of the games that everyone's looking forward to. Those two, there's story between them. There's some history. Chicago versus Dallas, better known as the new E Clasico by the look of it. I don't know. For me, who do I think is going to win this one? I just feel like Dallas are slightly ahead. Because bearing in mind everything I've heard from the beginning, like has been Dallas. For me to suddenly go Chicago, I get what Dill says. Like he's Formal's a monster. He's always a monster.
Oh, what? Yeah, but like the thing, like on the Dallas side, is that Crim's been smoking. But we've seen this last year, like, and it's going to be repeat where Crim's smoking everyone at the start.
Yeah.
Like, and we get to the first tournament, and he's not all that. Like, I mean, I'm a big Crim fan. Like, let's be honest, Crim's the best of all time, but he needs to show us that this ain't going to be a repeat situation where he's just smoking and he uses all of his energy before the event.
All of his energy. Yeah. Use all of his power. I don't know. And this is, I wouldn't even really want to call it. Like, who knows what alien shots are going to be like, if the slide cancel is going to affect this, if things have changed on the weekend. Like, too many.
And like, Crim's been taking shots at Scump. Like, you've got to understand, like, Scump is probably the only person, like, if you get me mad, like, you're probably going to see, like, a 2012, 13 me come out. But that's the only person that, like, is kind of, like, I've seen that happen. Like, I've shit-talked them and then I've got smoked the next mat. Like, you can't do that to Scump. Like, you can't. He's got the fire underneath him. Like, that is a person you can't shit-talk and expect him to come out and play terrible. Like,
That's true.
How good he's at that certain point. Like
he's gonna have like 3 bananas.
And like Crim's the one been doing it. Like how is he gonna be feeling? Because that pressure's on him. And Crim's not the form of Crim of what we're seeing years before. Like he's still good, but he's not as fiery as we've seen years ago. So and Scump's still fiery. Like he might have had a bad year, or bad months, but he's still fiery. Like he can still pop off a 5-piece with no issues. Like so, it's kind of like a mixed dynamic where you've got the MP5 player that's fiery, and then you've got the MP4 player that has been shit talking. Like, boy, front row seats, if I'm honest.
It's mad because if you had picked these teams without any context, right before this year started, we talk about paper teams, which I hate talking about paper teams, by the way. You would say on paper Chicago should be better because the names on that fucking team, man. If someone told me at the start of the year someone was going to get Scump, Formal, RC's Envoy, and Gunless in one team, I'd be like, nah. There's no way that you can afford all those players. Like those are some serious fucking players. But
very impressive.
Right? I mean, like, how'd you get all those? If you did a draft and somebody got all those players on one team, you think they were cheating? You think they bribed the other teams to allow you to draft that?
Yeah, we said this beginning of the year there, but it's the curiosity of if the attitudes are there, etc., which I'm sure they are. Based on what we've seen so far, they are one of these teams that are going to be in and amongst it from what we've heard as well. For me, and just humour me if I'm wrong here, when we go over to LAN, though, obviously we're not playing on 12 tick, are we? Surely it's a LAN server.
No, I'm pretty sure it is.
I wasn't too sure if it's
because we talked about this before.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's like if it just goes
some
over
people say yes, some people say no. I don't know, but like even if
that's going to make a difference as well if that isn't ideal. Yeah, if it's not.
I don't know because I mean we actually heard last week that all the podcasts will be done through PC this time, so the game will look different to what people are used to seeing anyway, right? Because it'll be on PC spec.
I don't like that.
Well, the podcast will be on PC.
Yeah, I don't.
It's much more versatile. You can do so much more with it, though.
Yeah,
so much more with it. I
don't like a different consoles hosting the game. Like, I don't know. We've got some weird film perception with this crossplay thing when the PC players in the game.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. We'll see how it looks. I am looking forward to it because I think it should help a lot on the observing side because it's a more open kind of way of doing it. And they can do more with it. So I'm okay with it. We'll see what it looks like. And it's something that maybe if we see something like, before when we've seen spectator mode has like the slight different like perspective shift between them and the player. Like you don't know whether or not you're seeing he's 100% super accurate. We'll see with that one. But before we get too depth and off topic again, let's move on to the next game. Seattle versus Florida. This is an interesting one because the Mutineers didn't really release their team until late in the game. I think they were the last team to announce properly. But they've been making a few waves, from what I understand. Now that they're together and they're putting some stuff down, people are kind of fans. People think these guys are going to do pretty well.
Battle of the Ocean, this mate. Like I like the way
this is true
there as well.
Yeah, these games are like designed to just like not being able to decide who's actually going to be.
They've made these well. Like. Who knows right now? Like Surge on paper, like I don't even know what I'm looking at really with this team. Like, yeah, okay, you've got Octane, but where's the rest of the slaying power?
Where's the firepower coming? You got you've got consistent players, but where's your firepower coming from? Especially the fact that like it's MP5 meta at the moment. Like, can you
needs to be on form?
Can you expect Octane to be a fire player? No.
You need App and Karma to be.
But
I'm thinking Black Ops 2 Karma. You need Black Ops 2 Karma on that team.
I don't think you're gonna get that. Like you're not gonna get that though. Like the Damon's a different player of what he used to be. Like, like you can't like. We all think of like people at Damon, the flashy plays, and let's outsmart the whole team and. You can't be outsmarted anyone in this game, let's be honest. Because you've outsmarted one of them and his whole team spawned on top of him. So I think you might see App, but it depends. Like, I haven't really watched much of Seattle, but there needs to be some slaying there. Like we know Enable's had issues with slaying over the years. App's had some slaying issues at the start of games.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know Damon hasn't had to slay recently. Like we know we had that spell last year where Dashi missed the start of the league, and we saw Damon fill into a slaying role, and it was like, okay, like he's still got it, and then I guess they didn't need him to do that anymore, and he didn't have to do it. But let's just see what Damon we can get now. He's in a different team, and he's got a new role to play.
Yeah.
If I had to bet, I'd probably put my money on the Mutineers. Just, I don't know, in this meta, I feel like you got to be fast-paced, and Seattle Surge, like a lot of their guys, it's just, you know, I think they might struggle with the pace of the game right now.
Could we quickly talk about, because I don't know how much, you put on this, but Octane, right? In terms of like we did a fantasy draft here, and I've also seen another draft go on. Essentially, there are people essentially putting him in this position of the number one player coming into this year. Like in terms of, his consistency, his time over it, people are drafting this guy, super early. Because it was like the other draft I saw was like, I can't remember which time it was, where they had an aggregate of where everybody had been drafted from all the people that had done their fantasy draft. And Octane kept going, he's like 1.2. Like he kept getting drafted first or second. Like
you expect that, because regardless of where you go out throughout the year, the AR's got to come viable at one point.
Yeah.
And who's your number one AR? Like there is many subs out there like that you couldn't just pick up, but you go to AR at this specific time in Call of Duty franchises, Octane, right? Like we know Slasher, he might be one of the best for 70% of the game, but we know Octane is one of the best throughout the whole year. Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. Like, if obviously he's on Seattle, which brings questions up to be how good that team is going to be. But if you want to choose a guy that over the course of the year is most likely to be like consistently at the top of the charts, Octane's got to be your guy. I thought we've seen over the last few years. Like, what a monster, especially in terms of like how many ARs you've got to pick from. Like, there's a few good ones, but like, yeah, Octane top of the list for me. Like, I would have probably, if I had to build a team, like just ground up, I could choose any player. Like, I might choose Slasher first, and then probably Octane after that. So,
yeah, I can see it. Let's just quickly pick our teams, because I have realised there are a lot of teams to go through.
Yeah, crack through.
I'm gonna lean to Seattle. I'm gonna lean to Seattle because I think probably the consistency of those players without too much to go for. I mean,
did we even predict the first game?
Yeah, I think some of us did. Me and Dill did.
Unless you were sleeping, long.
Man, I just had to go get paracetamol.
I think Rocker are. I'm sorry, I've already skipped. I've skipped ahead. No, I think Seattle Surge. Sorry, I would go with them over.
I'm going with Florida for this one.
Okay,
I'll take Florida.
I'll leave the odds, and I'd go with Seattle.
Oh, there we go.
I'm going. All right,
fight to the death between.
Can we get these down in paper so we can come back and see who's actually
someone. Tan, you can take care of that. Go on, mate. You're
Don's job.
You're sitting in the background.
What did we say for Chicago and Dallas?
I picked Dallas. Dill picked Chicago.
I don't know. What's your pick, Tunn? I can't choose.
I am going to go. My head says Dallas. My heart says Chicago. So I'm going to go. It's nearly Valentine's Day, so I'll go with my heart. We'll say Chicago.
I'll say Dallas, and let's go.
Oh, fucking I'm gonna have to open up the Excel
all over the
sheet.
place. Technically, the podcast can't be wrong.
We just go 2-2 down the middle, everyone.
Yeah. Easy. I mean, I'm not sure the next one's going to be 2-2. It's going to be Minnesota versus Los Angeles Guerrillas.
Yeah. Minnesota got to be favourites here.
Yeah. I don't even think it's close in terms of like the favourites for this one. It's Minnesota all the way.
Yeah, it's got to be a whitewash there.
Especially early season, and Aches has no reason to even care about this match, really. Does he have a reason? Actually, no, ignore me. He does. He's silly and assault people he won world champs with. But it's not a crim or it's not a scump, you know.
Best thing Aches has done so far on this game is that LA preview they did with him. He's sitting across the other up the edge.
That's true.
Yeah. That was sick. That was really good. So that's the best thing. But no, I don't want to go too in depth for this team because we've heard pretty good things about Minnesota, not so much against the Guerrillas. I think we're all going Minnesota, right? I don't know. I just don't. I'm trying to think of the positives come out of LA, but I don't really. I haven't heard much.
There isn't.
I've heard nothing.
There isn't, no.
Like, how do you pick a team you know nothing about?
And I feel like, unfortunately, Saints is like, we've heard that Saints might have had like grinding issues, I guess, in terms of like kind of passion for the game, I suppose. And right now, when
your passion is your contract, mate.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, once you've got the contract locked in, you know, it might be difficult for some people to find the same passion, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, that's an easy one then. That bangs that out. Next game's interesting because it's one of my personal picks for the weekend.
Ooh.
The London Ravens versus the New York Subliners.
Sheesh.
It's an interesting game because, of course, Trey on the side of New York against a lot of his old teammates.
That's a point.
A lot of his old teammates.
No,
and
I mean,
it also benches like a London Ravens that have been, I don't want to say shit talk, but put down. Their stock is not very high. New York's is about mid-table. It's slightly up there. They are at least talked about as competing with some of these bigger teams.
It's an interesting one because I haven't really watched much of New York. I don't know, like New York. Shit. I don't know, man. Like I don't see a Dylan on New York, and I'm finding that Dylan at the moment is what you need. Like, it is an important factor. Like,
let's just all be biased.
I'm seeing Watkins hit form as well. Like, I don't think Aquis has got it. Like the pace that he needs to bring to the table. Or then I'm thinking S&Ds, and I'm thinking, have London got the reps in? Because I know that's a big
issue.
If they've had the reps in, I know they've got the brains there to pick it out. But I'm gonna have to go with London, man. I don't see any of the subs on New York even touching Dylan right now.
Okay.
And just think of the backup that he's got behind him. Like he hasn't got like the backup's not no Tom, Dick, and Harry. Like they've like his backup, his decent backup. Like
that's a good point.
Rated on boots on the ground as well.
Like how good is Attach or Zuma gonna be? We know they've had issues with over the years. Like Attach went quiet for years and then come back out of nowhere with Black Ops 4 when he was probably the lowest ever, and he comes back. And then where does Zuma fit into this? Like, can he hit some flanks? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
interesting.
I don't know. What's your call?
Brad, what are you going? You put yours out, mate.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'll probably say Subliners just off reps. I feel like they're getting better practice maybe against the best teams right now and for a bit longer. But I honestly think this is closer to call than what the power rankings implied.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Subliners first series of the weekend. Like, but I reckon both teams might end up 1-1.
Yeah, I think you could move. Like, if you did these power rankings, I think you could probably move London up a few. Like Dill said earlier, and it'd make more sense. But I kind of agree with you, Rab. As much as I like the London Ravens, and obviously, you know, I live just outside London myself, my issue is reps, and it worries me from a pure headspace. Like, I know that they may not be fun for, and this is the thing, right? I can go against them here, but fully expect them to be better in the year. Like, fully expect them to scream at these rankings once they got their shit together, once they've really nailed it down, because I know they still practice, and I'm sure they'll be like, X, Y, and Z, but right now, you know, I can only go off what I actually know, not what the players know. And the players are probably like, oh, man, I've been killing it on X, Y, and Z. Well, unfortunately, I'm not you, and I'm not sitting in your scrims, all right? So I'm going to pick the Subliners for this one, but with the thing that I don't expect this to always be that way. If they play again in 4 months, then it may be a very different story.
I think it could be close, but I know that Reece Price would never lie to me. And he told us London are sick, so they must be good.
I've played them before, and I'm like, but you know.
I think it's super hard to call, though. On paper, it should be a really close game. But again, like I think we'll preface a lot of these conversations we've been having this could be very, very close across the weekend. It's hard to distinguish who is actually going to be really good because, you know, you base so much off scrims, but it's the only thing we have anything to base off so far. Yeah, I think it's hard. I'm going to just be awkward and even it out and say London. But yeah, honestly, it could go either way. It really could.
Yeah. All right, there we go. We'll move on. Ultra versus Surge. It's Toronto versus Seattle, this next one.
Huh?
Cammy MVP, baby. Let's go. Apparently, I've heard classics dropping 45s in scrims. Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Toronto on this.
Go to Toronto.
I'm actually down to see Toronto. Yeah,
I'm down to see Toronto win this one. Yeah, actually,
I'm feeling it.
Octane versus Methods. Or if the MP5 goes missing for a weekend,
Looney though, early season always. Looney's teams always good early season.
But
Don't know if
this game have that much depth in like to even be able to like, and has he had the time to even really get it with the players? I'm going with Toronto because like Classic apparently has been throwing and Cammy and that like, so I'm going Toronto, but I don't think. Let's see.
I'm gonna go with the dads. I think consistency, time together, it's the same shit. It's the same rep shit I said last time, right? I think these are veterans. It's a veteran team against.
I think like a lot of these games, like when we're talking reps, like these teams will have like reps with the hard point. Like there's not much depth with it. I'm talking about the S&D reps, man, because there's so much that goes with S&D in this game purely because like dead silences in the perk, the maps and everything, like the bomb sites, like S&D is so big and it's all about who really has them reps and who's really gone in depth with it. And I don't think Toronto have because they haven't been playing with the main team for that long, but I just got a weird feeling that they'll probably just get like St. Petrograd and just flop and just go with the flow. They'll just hit that A bomb site every time. You know what I mean?
Didn't even get away with it. We're now gonna start to see the bans and picks and shit. Right? I didn't think of that this weekend.
That's what I mean. Like we're talking domination. I see one domination playing every time, unless a team's taking a risk, like a real big risk. Like you're gonna see gun every time unless a team really takes a risk because anyone can win Hackney Yard. Anyone can win Petrograd at this point if you know how to play the map. I don't know.
Weird map.
All right, so I'm going to go with Seattle then.
Yeah, I was going to go with Seattle as well.
All right, 2-2 again. This is a great podcast. Let's see how decisive we are. Sure, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you're wondering, I wonder how the weekend's going to go. Apparently, we have fucking no idea.
We don't. That's the thing. We haven't got a crystal ball.
Yeah. Next one might be slightly easier again. Gorillas versus the Florida Mutineers. Floridians.
It's
such a dead game. Like.
Florida. It's Florida.
Every time. Like,
lock them up.
Yeah. That's a shame, really. Like
how Frosty is on this game, by the way. Exciting. He was so good at the end of last year.
And I think I would probably also go with Florida here. It's difficult because I don't want to talk bad about the Gorillas, but how on earth do you pick them in this scenario? You don't.
No, you don't.
I mean, if people are saying Florida are better, then what else am I going to go off?
Yeah. I always think if I've got to stick a ton on a bet, like, who am I betting on? Do I bet with going, the potential, or do I bet with what I know? And from what I understand at this point, bearing in mind that nobody has seen a full competitive series with these teams yet, and seeing how their picks and bans comes in and seeing where they're good and where they're weak, you go with your sample size, and that's Florida.
Yeah, and be like one of those Gen G type teams that you're not even expecting to be that good, but they've honestly got some really good talent on this team. And like Pristini is just historically underrated. Havoc and Morks good last season, so I mean, I've got good confidence.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, I think that's an easy one as well. Let's move on then. This is a difficult one because I think we can talk about it a little bit. It's Paris versus OGLA.
Is it that difficult? Don't know.
I'm good.
Okay, yeah, maybe not difficult. But I think the entire reason I think it's difficult is I feel like the Paris team, because they've been kind of scrimming on a different continent, we don't have as much information about them. Like we don't know. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe there's something we don't know. Admittedly, it doesn't mean I'm going to pick them. It's just something you got to think about, right? You got to think about Paris versus OGLA. This is on the power rankings, technically they're an 8th team. Which, if you were playing like any of the top 6, you'd be like, yeah, this is done. We're not going to go that far out of it. But where do you sit them here?
Don't know. I'm going with Paris because, as someone said in the chat and brought to light to me, Optic have players that don't really care in scrims. So how much have they really cared about scrims? And At this point in time, putting some effort into scrims means an awful lot. This is not mid-season where people are just getting away with connection and you know how good they are on LAN because you've played them or watched them play hundreds of times. This is the starting thing. Like, preparation is everything. Like, so I want to say Josh and Joel have had that team prepped. If they haven't, then I'll bite my words and we need some words. But
Yeah, that's fair.
I'd like to say Esports got them prepared for something. And who's even the Optic Gaming coach? Patman? Am I saying right?
Yeah, they got
Yeah.
Pac-Man.
Oh yeah, I've got Beastbot on this one.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you here, Dill.
That's fine.
Current meta, right? Like TJ, Dashy, Kenny. I just can't see Paris beating this team.
Oh, that's cool.
I just can't see it. I really can't see it. Like, as much as I like Paris and they speak to the coaches a little bit, I just can't see past it, right? I just can't see past this team against them. As much as people say they don't try and scrims and all this shit. Like, think of these players, man. These are some of the best players in the last few years.
I think I'm probably leaning in Brice's boat here. It's just tough for me to look past them. Like, even though they haven't been looking that great in scrims, like it's just a tough team to overlook. So, yeah, I'll go Optic in this one. They might not be great, but they'll probably improve through the season. It's tough to call again though, but I'll say Optic.
Yeah, all right, Tunn, which way you going?
Yeah, I'm the same boat. Optic. I just think too much in like for all that we said that Optics the preparation hasn't been fantastic. It's still like we know that Paris hasn't been either. So for me, that would then put it down to on paper, and I just don't see it happening for Paris, unfortunately. So I'm going to go OG.
Yeah, all right, that's cool. That's cool. All right, let's move on then. This one's an interesting one. Atlanta versus Dallas.
It's a meaty game, Bricey.
Tough schedule for Dallas, by the way.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I'll give it to Atlanta.
It's one of these ones where I think not only that, right, but the pressure of Atlanta.
Yeah,
I feel like Atlanta are like
if Atlanta's shooting well, and this game's like a sort of game where if you're not shooting well and the other team's throwing, it's gonna stay that way, and you're gonna get blown out so bad. It's a shame. And if Atlanta are shooting well and Dallas not shooting bad, like that's gonna end very quick and very bad.
Yeah, I also feel like with Atlanta here, you know how, and this is fucking subjective as anyway, but you know how we always talk about Call of Duty gets faster as the year goes on. Like it's the way players, it becomes more of a pressure-based thing, and subs always become like great towards the end of the year because more and more you end up playing this more fluid, faster game as players understand more, and everybody becomes super fast and super fluid, and the game gets quicker. The tempo ramps up in everything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this Atlanta team's already fucking there, right? I feel like this Atlanta team, I don't think they've reached final form yet because as soon as the tempo starts to ramp up, they can play at that tempo now. Look at the players on this team. I feel like that's why Atlanta are doing so well. We've got MP5 meta at the moment where the MP5 is ridiculous, right? It is a very powerful gun at all ranges. We've got players who can excel with that play style. I think that gives them the edge this weekend. Admittedly, we've just had a patch, so...
Yeah, exactly, but...
we will have to see.
I mean, I think I saw a tweet from Rated saying that some people are using red dot on their MP5 instead of an M4 on some setups. So it's like, if that's the case, then like 5 MP5s on the map, it's just there's not another team that you'd imagine would be the best team in the game right now. So,
yeah. Anyone going against it? Anyone picking Dallas?
No.
It's possible to be, but like,
oh no, it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a great game to watch.
We've got Illy, Shotzi, and Hook. Like that's gonna be so much fun.
I think we're unanimous in Atlanta here. I think it's hard not to be after all the noise you hear about them online.
Exactly.
Look at the team on paper. I mean, it should be a close game. Like I think this is on paper, from what we've seen in the beginning of the year, the two best teams. So you would argue, but who knows? Yeah. This is the thing with all of this is that we're theory crafting around very little evidence.
Swizz just said in the chat, he goes, "You picked against London." I was like, "You should have seen the scrims." I'm like, "That's the point. I haven't seen the scrims, have I? I haven't seen fuck all." We're just going off mostly here saying what we think of the players individually. I And somebody's right there, by the way. How Dallas have ended up with these 2 games? They could come out of this 0-2.
That's what I'm saying. Like they got a tough
they've
start.
done this on purpose because if you think about it, it's not the tournament format, so they thought, it's the league game format.
But you look at the games as well, and I don't know if I'm just saying this, like, if I'm talking out my arse here, but like you look at them and they're all sort of like Chicago, Dallas. There's history between those two. Seattle and Florida probably going to be there or thereabouts together in terms of the standings. LA Gorillas against Minnesota. Well, okay, there's maybe not too much there, but New York and London history. Toronto, Seattle. There's maybe not too much there, but a lot of these games have got like some sort of reason.
Yeah, they're either like rival franchises or like
Paris, London.
They're on sort of like par with like skill wise, which I'm not sure if they intend to do that or it's just
whoever put these together knows what they're doing. Like,
I mean Chicago or GLA, even though it's like but.
No, but even that's a class.
Like, but even that's supposed to that's the history behind that. So
that's
exactly.
That's Up2 versus old Up2.
Yeah,
content, boys. Content.
Beautiful. We love it. Like London, Paris as well.
And then you got the New York Atatsuma versus FaZe. Like that's history.
Yeah.
Like whoever was doing this knew what they were doing.
This has been done by committee. Let's go on to the next game then. London versus Paris. Technically a grudge match, even though no one's actually played each other. But these two have been going at each other for obvious reasons. The 2 Europeans showing down. I think this one is easy London, and not just because of the teams, but because there's no freaking way London are going to. After all the shit talk, after everything that's gone on, the London players don't want to lose to other Europeans. Fucking the London social media is going to be going full for. Honestly, they'll be if they're not walking into that game like it's the fucking Super Bowl, something is seriously wrong. They've got to be going in there like fucking out of their minds, like just ripping the stage up, going, "We're ready for this shit."
Yeah, I wish it was easy to like. I wish I could dislike Paris and just be a London fan and have the rivalry, but it's just you just can't dislike that team with the Aussies and Zed and that. But it is what it is. I reckon London will win.
Yeah, I think
it's hard to look past.
If anything, it's that old European. You usually have a European team that you think's better than the other one, and although Paris,
Big question for Dill here, by the way. Who are you picking, Dylan?
Obviously London. The whitewash.
Yeah,
it's not even going to be. I mean, technically, I say European. It's not European. It's Australian and American and a little bit of European.
A little bit of European.
But still.
It'd be actually fun to see like a sweaty game there.
They've got to go sweaty, right? Like, as much as, people have talk about rivalries and shit, like, there is just a natural rivalry here. Like, it has to be.
I think it's more of a forced one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's a forced one, but I also think the players are going to enjoy it.
Yeah, like some players are gonna enjoy. Like Dylan's gonna enjoy playing against Zed and Dens, and then. Yeah. But if you just add some random factors, then you get a few Aussies and a Kismet, and it's like with these guys, like what you and part of the little beef, like I don't know, and like I don't think like the whole Rec lot fell out of each other. It's more of a good.
Yeah, they split up quite nicely as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure.
It's a little bit of bragging rights.
It's probably the most grudge match you'll get in terms of franchises for London and Paris because they're both European. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure like the teams would rather go beat another team. Like, I'm pretty sure London would rather go beat Trey rather than.
Yeah.
But I feel like, being perfectly honest, the business side of this, like the Ravens are probably because they want the win against Paris for more than just the reason of the league. Like, if you're management in London, you're going, kind of need to beat these. We've been shit-talking them since the league started. Obviously, we want to be the premier European force for Call of Duty because, they've obviously got their markets now. We've gone localization. It's not just about, brands anymore. London can't lose against these. And I'm sure the management will go, we need to prep for fucking Paris. Right, this New York Sublines game, very big game. That's obviously going to be a more interesting game for everyone to watch.
They best not lose to them, like.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying, right? They London have more to lose in this game.
It's just one of them games that you best not lose to them, like.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm saying there hasn't been a lot of shit talk, not between the players. I'm not talking about the players. The players probably are fine. They're probably fine with each other. They'd love to have this game, but the social media, especially of the Ravens, has been very anti-Paris. Right, it's been like really anti-Paris for obvious reasons. Right, they're trying to hype up this European rivalry.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm going London every time. The next game, has anyone got anything different? By the way, no one's got anything different, there, have they?
No, I wouldn't count that.
I don't think so. Next game, Hector's optic versus the other optic.
It's gonna be so much fun, man. But yeah, I'll give it to Chicago here. I mean, as Mike has been making a good point about like the importance of like how much it means to each team.
Who were Dashi and TJ shit talking after the breakup? Was it Krim or was it Scum?
Krim, wasn't it?
It was Krim, yeah. It was like Krim reckoned that it was him, Teep, and Karma against like Scump, Dash, and Tej.
Oh yeah.
And there was the whole thing about how Dashi wanted to be on he wanted to go to Optic because apparently when he signed the contract, he thought that Scump was going to stay, and then he was apparently talking about like trying to swap out Gunless or something and sneak onto Chicago somehow. Maybe that's just a bullshit rumor, but like apparently that was discussed. So there's some spicy stuff going on there.
There is. I think we're probably all going to say Chicago, I would imagine. But if there's any game that Austin is if Slash is going to turn up for, it's fucking this one, isn't it?
I think the crowd will be more interested. I'll be more interested in watching the crowd. Yeah, Optic fans who followed Hector versus Optic fans who stayed with OG, just fighting and spitting on each other.
God.
Yes, what we love to see. We want it like the crowd between Khabib and Conor the first time round. Yeah. I want Russians and Irishmen fighting against each other.
Optic chanting the Optic chant, the other Optic team that isn't Optic, Chicago Huntsman chanting "You're not Optic."
Yeah,
it's gonna be great.
Unreal.
That's the big thing I want to see. Someone who's bought, over the years, $600 worth of Optic merch. Oh, I've got a decision to make now. This is all worthless if I pick Chicago Huntsman now, but I like Chicago Huntsman. Oh, and also bearing in mind, someone just put it in the chat along a similar line. Like, there's no way that team wants to lose against that Optic team. Like, we'll see.
That would be, it'd be embarrassing in a way if Chicago lost.
It would be bad. But I am going to say Chicago, but it's one of them where you never know. Like they could, right? Chicago will either smoke them or it'll be super close. I think it'll just be a stupid game. It's got it written all over it. I don't know why, but just
something interesting I've noticed. Just to butt in there real quick. Like if you look at the times for the matches, the first Chicago Dallas match, they're only giving it an hour and 15 for some reason, from 10:30 to 11:45 for the next one.
I'm thinking it may be.
Is that a mistake or?
I actually think it's probably along the lines of the fact they just put in more classes, so people should have their shit set up.
No, it's 1 hour 15 for both of them.
Technically, there shouldn't be as much of a delay between a start of a game and end of the game.
On my screen, it's saying an hour and a half for the Paris London and 2 hours for the Chicago OGLA game, and then an hour 15 for the New York.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There might be something on. They might have something planned after or something. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Also, by the way, with the new, being on PC, because there really shouldn't be, and this is off topic, there really shouldn't be as much delay between games as there actually is. Like a couple of minutes between, the hard point and the S&D, just to change everything over, and then the launching countdown, because you're not going anywhere. Like it
depends if they want to break down after every game, even though that's not typical of what they've usually done.
I don't think that should be like part of it. I honestly would be quite happy with like 30 seconds as they switch the game and mode over and then go again. Because as I know, like the filling in that little bit, people are just waiting for the gameplay to start again.
Yeah, they've got no interest in what we're saying. Yeah. Well, they don't anyway.
Like it's not like the players are sitting there prepping for the S&D after the hard point. All they're doing is going, get your heads out of this one, or good shit, let's go into the S&D. It's not deep. Like there ain't no team having a deep conversation. If they're having a deep conversation after a hard point, they just got smoked and they're falling to bits. The same conversation happens every time. Ignore that one, move on.
Yeah. That is true. Like you're not playing London, you're not playing Hackney Yard Hardpoint again in the series. We'll talk about this after.
Yeah.
Like if you're seeing people talk after the stage, like and about the next map, they're falling to pieces.
Yeah, it's not a deep conversation. It's not like they need to. You're just going to play the next one in the series. It should happen quickly. But that's bear in mind that I have been in a schedule. Thanks to Paul Kent at Gfinity, who played 13 games, best of 5, in one day on one stage. You ain't never seen players move so fast. We had players out of that booth and the next players in within 6 minutes. We had a one best of 5 series end. We had the next best of 5 series start in under 6 minutes.
The turnover's crazy.
That's a turnover. Turnover at the current time is about 45 minutes.
Tragic, like. Players on their warm-up time.
Yeah, but players should warm up before the game. You're not coming on the stage or what. Like, you should be fine. Like, everything should be set up. Like, it's settings. Anyway, this is we're getting. I'm going off topic. This is for another time. New York versus Atlanta. The subliners. I keep wanting to call them the sublinears for no real reason. Against Atlanta.
Just got used to it.
This is an easy one.
Yeah, I'll give it Atlanta. Let's just, just in terms of matchup here, it just seems like it would be really interesting to see how like Temp plays on this game though, because he was obviously pretty cracked out last year. But against FaZe, it's going to be tough to do anything. Like accuracy is going to get swamped.
Yeah, I was just thinking about this actually. Obviously I picked with the picks earlier. Like they've got to play London earlier than New York. Like if they lose against London, I don't see them winning this game, and that could be a bad start for New York.
I don't know. I get that, but at the same time, like I think when we were having this conversation with Brice the other week, is this first event is sort of see what happens, isn't it? Like nobody really knows how it's going to go.
It's benchmarking.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it doesn't actually affect seeding. I don't know if you noticed that, but every single pool play match is determined for the rest of the season already. So it doesn't even affect seeding. So, there's that as well.
It's interesting. But I don't think there's too much to discuss in that way. We've already covered Atlanta and New York.
Yeah.
I think, funny enough, I do think it's going to be a really good game. I think New York-Atlanta will be a really good game because of the way these two teams match up. So I think it may be closer than people give it credit for. I actually think these two, I think, if anything, this may be the fastest paced game of the weekend. I'm going to go tempo-wise. Tempo-wise, this game's going to be quick. I think it's two fast teams.
Yeah. That should be good. Yeah, I didn't really look into it in enough depth.
Yeah, once you look at the players, once you look at who the players are and the way you think these two teams are going to apply pressure and the meta at the moment, this should realistically be the fastest game tempo-wise of the weekend. Everybody else has, slower players and they have the R and all this. These two teams, I do think, hold an edge in terms of just pure outright speed, which is great because I love those kind of games.
You reckon?
I
reckon you got just as much as pace in Dallas as New York. You've got accuracy in Trey. You've got three fast players, but so is Dallas, and Dallas's three fast players might be just as fast.
I suppose it depends how Crim and Clay are playing at the moment.
Well, they're going to be slugs. So is Trey and accuracy.
Yeah, but I've seen Trey play fast.
Yeah, but
I suppose it's how he's slotted in.
On the whole, he is a slow player.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on how it comes to it. But that's what we're looking at. I thought that was just kind of an interesting point for me. All right, one of the top three kind of fastest teams in terms of like pure pressure and aggression should be these. So yeah, I can see that. Should be an interesting game. But I think we're all going Atlanta, right?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, I'll give it Atlanta.
All right, cool. Let's last game. Last game of the opening weekend: Minnesota versus Toronto.
I think. I mean, it makes sense to have Minnesota last.
Home team, baby.
Final game, home team. I feel like they've given them probably one of the easier games on paper as well.
Yeah.
Like without any disrespect to
Toronto. They might have done that deliberately, giving them as an ultra on the weekend.
They have, though, haven't they? I mean, one of. So, well, go on, Del. Are you disagreeing?
Huh?
Are you disagreeing?
No, I'm agreeing. That's what I mean. Like,
okay. Yeah, all right.
They've niced them up on their home soil.
Yeah, I think Minnesota take this one, and this surprised me. I think a lot of people have said that they're a really good team. I looked at that on paper at the beginning. I was like, yeah, and they should be all right, but I don't know. Trust in Alex. They've got those fucking custom AF1s now as well. By the way, did anyone see that custom shoe video? Right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. You know what really threw me off? Like they were showing you Alex's. Alex must have fucking huge feet. Like he's not that big.
I think
a kid.
he does. Yeah.
Mate, I was looking at them like Jesus Christ. How big is he? They're massive.
I can't say I played this close attention to be fair.
I know, but he's not that big of a kid. But he must just have some absolute.
I'm pretty sure it is him with like a size 11, 12 foot.
Yeah, but he doesn't look the type.
I'm not quite sure who it was, but I know it's someone that isn't quite big.
Yeah, it was just I'd seen the shoes and it had Alex's name on it. I was like, bloody hell, not that big, is he? Like if Silly had them, then yeah, because Silly is absolutely yoked, and you would just presume he's got big feet. I don't know, but it was just it caught me off guard. That's all I have to say on the situation.
That's fair. I've learned something new. I didn't know. Alex got some big feet.
He's got massive feet.
All I keep thinking about when
really
you say that is
well.
that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air clip where he's talking about his big feet. You know, they say about players with the big feet, and if Uncle Phil walks in going, they got some big socks.
Yeah,
like that's it. That's all that's been playing in my mind.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what you.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. All right, let's go questions from the chat. Actually, someone brought this up very, very quickly. Open bracket. Haven't really talked about it. Who will do well?
I mean, we'll say some bias on my part here, probably, but
Steve's team.
Yeah, I mean, without taking anything away from you, Dylan, they have won the last 5 2Ks. I know it's all.
Well, yeah, they are fucking warriors. And let's not be. Let's put it out there. It is repetition from certain people doing good at the start, but they are going to do well. Let's not put it out there. I'm not saying they're not going to do well. They are going to do well. Them guys. I don't know about the Yanks. I've been watching. They are quite slow. I don't know how that's going to play in their favor. I'm not quite sure with the Yanks. Like when I'm watching, I don't see much going on there. Like there might be a few unknown teams that don't stream that I haven't seen much.
What we
Maybe
seen
that
last year,
Pentagram team looked quite decent.
Yeah, he was good last year.
There's a team that made us fun of the 2K that looked quite good. I didn't take the names down.
Do you remember last year in Vegas? You remember Midnight, like sneaking on through and. Like you know they didn't do well at the first event, but then they were classic qualifiers and whatnot as well. So you never know.
I'm not quite sure. Like, I don't really know much about the Yanks, so I'm not really gonna go into it. But the Stevo's team, then you've got Detain's team. They're all right. They're not. I wouldn't say they could win it, but they'll be up there.
Yeah, Parasites.
That's it for me. Like from the Europeans.
You got a couple of the like what is it, the Seattle like Academy, Spoof, Proto Panda, Super Vivid. Like there's some pretty decent names floating around. That Pentagram team is the UYU team, I think, with like Zyle, Infamous, Emery's, and Rex. I'm seeing here. But yeah, from the UK team scene should be good.
Yeah, I think so. I'm curious to how much we're going to see of it. Because
yeah,
I don't know what's going on.
I was gonna say I heard it's not being streamed, but like where I got that from. Like.
Well, yeah, I mean, we just don't know. Like on the right, okay.
We're not involved, so I have no idea.
Well, that's it. Like that's the thing. The fact that we aren't involved makes me think there isn't.
That was my first.
Yeah, they just got somebody good.
Yeah, either that or they got somebody good. Yeah, one of the two. But like, I don't think the 3 pairs will be covering it. Like that, them 2 covering 2 streams. I don't think we have. As far as we're aware.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's go into the questions from the chat. Here we go. First question: what lip fillers does Rab use?
What is that on there, mate? For some reason, people say I have lipstick in my videos. Like I don't. My lips aren't even that red, but for some reason, the lighting makes it look like they are. I think
just admit you've got a beauty channel on the side, mate.
Yeah, no, what can I say?
Just make bank.
No comment.
They all make bank, all of them.
Yeah.
Don't even joke about this. Like fucking Shannon watches some of this makeup stuff. That Jeffree Star fella, the biggest YouTuber in makeup, is a bloke.
Oh yeah, my missus was on about this. She showed me the video. She was like, "Does he look like a bloke?" I'm like,
"What is that?"
If you think about it, yeah, but if I don't know, then that would go.
I was joking with Shannon last night. I was like, "Isn't it crazy? Men rule the world. They really, really do, don't they?"
Yeah.
Are people underrating Optic? Possibly.
Good question.
Possibly. It really depends on. I think. If you just looked at these players without the context we've had over the last few months, you'd put Optic a lot higher in people's kind of idea of where they should be, the players they've got. But people have had like a negative. I mean, it's two-factor, right? It's the negative thing about Optic. It's fashionable to hate on Optic at the moment. It really is. And the other thing is people have been saying they've not been trying as much. Like they haven't had a good time. They've not been playing well. So I don't know. And bear in mind, right, that usually that'd just be put in the bin. No one gives a shit about that. But without context, without a sample size, without stuff we can actually look at, without hard facts or benchmarking, that's all you can do. It's as simple as it is. Like, what do you want me to go? Do you want me to consult a crystal ball, try to read their fucking fortune and tea leaves? Like, how am I gonna?
We could be completely wrong on
all
of these
smoke
results.
it.
like LAN environment, etc., change comes in the day before. If any event is going to be completely different to what everybody expects, it's going to be this one.
Yeah, that's fair. Someone says simp or a beezy. Simp. I can't think. I don't know what context. If it's just those two, you're picking simp.
Yeah, Abizi was underrated last season though, but I'd give it to simp.
Yeah, it's fair. Can someone tell me how Maniac got on a pro team even as a sub?
Content.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd rather COD content than whatever. I ain't gonna speak much on it. Like, you know me, like you know me with these sort of things.
Yeah. Can do ultra players swap in and out of their starting roster between now and the next event?
Ooh.
Yeah, it's a
Are they in London?
chance.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, if
They could.
they completely shit the bed.
It's a good chance because
they're in London.
you've got players that could potentially shit the bed. Like.
And bearing in mind, right, it isn't out of the realms of possibility they don't win here either of their games. Minnesota and Seattle, like they could lose both of those.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, how long do you give like a player? Like is one event good enough? Especially when the patch, like you've got so many excuses right now as to give to people, especially in 1 to 2 series. Like, I don't know, maybe I would personally. I mean, you've got that much depth of players, and I think when you've got VODs and teams, you'd be able to see how they're playing, what sort of players would be best to suit that team.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. We'll see what they do. I don't know if there's gonna be enough to figure out.
But we all know COD, like people don't like to bring people off, like, you know what I mean? Like people won't be like, oh, you're coming off for this series. Like we know that a lot of people ain't gonna be wanting to do that. Like until they do it, they won't want to do it. Like,
yeah,
it's one of them. Like the what's the word? Like, you know, if you bring off a player, you probably touched his ego and you probably dropped his confidence by about 6%, and you've dropped his gameplay by about 5%, and then you've killed his confidence for that year. Nice one. And then you've only got 9 players now.
Yeah, it's honestly a fair point.
Yeah, that's fair. Next question: will Denza on LAN perform?
We need to see this, huh? Fair play. I'm one to say. I'm always one to say fair play if it does. But we shall see. Like, he's been around long enough. Like that's my initial thought. Like, he's been around long enough. Like why is homie start shooting back now? Like COD's normally one of them. If you're talented, you're talented. Like you don't start shooting back 5 years down the line. Like I mean, I got nothing against the kid. He's a bit of a weasel. Like chats, but does like to talk. But it is what it is. If he shoots back, he shoots back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair statement. We'll have to see how it kind of ends up going. Someone wants to get your opinion on Team Singularity.
I think they can be good, but it's just don't know. They can be good, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a team you keep an eye on, right? If you're looking at
you keep an eye on them.
You
keep an eye on them.
They could shock everybody.
It's also like young players, right? They haven't got much. They've got LAN experience. Let's not get it twisted. Like Jed and Insight have been around for quite some time, but you've also got to think of Maple as well. But like in terms of having experience on like these big tournaments, have only just started to come around. So they might even have some room for improvement in terms of being in like comfortable in their environment at these tournaments. So they definitely want to look out to see if they can improve as people as well as the gameplay at these tournaments.
Yeah, I can see that. I think this next one, by the way, this next one's a very interesting one because it's basically super directed at you, Dill. Because you'll understand. Oh, I suppose Tunn will get this. I don't know if Rabbit. I can't remember how much you were around back in the day, but they talk about Toby Foster. Toby Foster used to lose 90% of his scrims on MW3 and won lands and placed high.
Yeah, but you can't, like, times were different back then. Like
I think that's
like,
the
we were
question he's
talking
asking.
Mod 3. Like I was in their team like for 2 out of 3 of the big events that year, and like I think we scrimmed 3 times a week because obviously like Toby had a family, and him and Mac had quite decent jobs.
He
so
still
we
does
didn't
have a
much
family.
time.
They haven't died.
Well, obviously, but like he doesn't play anymore, you idiot. They were talking about mod 3, you fucking idiot.
Whoa.
And then so like we did a lot of private matches as well, and you got to think no one really put time in back then. Like we were speaking about this the other day with like Swan. Like if you put time in back in the day, you was considered a nerd. Like you're a nerd. Look at the game time, rare.
Attitudes have changed,
and like you got to think like. Say like people like me and Josh, like we was like 14, 15, like we had time on our hands. Like sometimes like we wouldn't even go to school, like you know what I'm saying? Like we was tired, like it was just one of them, like we had all the time in the world, like we didn't have like we just went to school, like bro, I remember school finished at 1 o'clock, man. I'm in pubs, I'm in pickup Fred scrims, like you know what I mean? Like and like people like my competition weren't putting in them hours back then. Like they were all just normal people that would just get smoked at events. So
yeah, I think one of the points he's trying to make though is from back then to now, are scrims a better sense of form?
I mean, you can get a good gist of how a team is. Like I get like, but what you got to also put like people have good and bad days. People have good weeks and bad weeks. So it's not the do or die of a team. Like it's an accurate representation over a long period of time. But going off a short period of time, like say the last week in an event, someone's not feeling well. That isn't basically your representation as a team going to the event. Like you could take some glimpse of it, but like on a whole, that is not the 100% of the team you're going to see next week. Not everyone's 100% every day.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Couple more questions and we'll end this one because there's 2 more questions. We've already been on live for a long time. Should Parasite and Pharaoh be on pro teams if how good they are and the results now show online? I think people are going to wait to see how their main rosters go first. I think before any changes, it's a simple one. You've already made your picks, right? You don't second guess yourself at this stage. Okay, you wait to see how it plays out at a pro level. But like, if you're having a bad time, or if you need strength and depth, or if you're having problems, there are some teams who have flexibility enough to make those changes. I don't expect to see changes at some of the bigger teams because their entire strategy is around a core 5. Other teams have that opportunity, but they won't do it quite yet because you don't want to admit you're wrong this early on. It's stupid because first of all, you don't know, right? So you've made your choices. You've made an educated choice, and now you've basically made your bed. You got to line it, and then you'll figure it out later on. They might be on people's radar, right? Parasite Verena might be on a whiteboard somewhere in some boardroom in some facility, going, "Do we use these?" Maybe.
It's an interesting one though, because with Parasite, like as a player, he's not a guy you can just sit on your sub bench and just like sub him in. You have to change your whole like squad around like the way Parasite's going to play. Because if you're going to put him on your team, like that's his team now. Like he's going to make the decisions. He's going to make the calls. The players are going to revolve around him. Like he's not an easy guy you can sub in. Pharaoh, maybe he is, but there's the whole like he's a controversial figure, you know. The stuff that's happened in the past that people talk about a lot. So, you know, I can see both sides of the coin there.
Yeah, I think so. And this last question, I'm sorry, I know, you know, there's a billion questions and I do appreciate you, everybody in the chat. Sometimes we don't always get through them all, but I do appreciate people interacting and stuff. This last question, people are talking about the slide cancelling. Obviously, they're talking about it as a positive for the game. Do we think it should have been now or after this tournament? Honestly, and people may not like this answer. I think, don't get me wrong, it's a change to a mechanic of the game, but it is an unintended mechanic. That was never supposed to be something in this game, and they have patched it out. Yes, it's close, all right? I get it. That is terrible whenever we have to change things this close to an event, but it's Call of Duty and it happens all the time, all right? I'm not agreeing with it. I don't say it's a good thing. I'm not saying, oh, you know, we should just adapt. I'm just saying it's an unintended mechanic. I would rather see it gone now, because if not, people will be putting an asterisk next to all these results.
Whoa, yeah, that's.
You can disagree with me, so we like.
Because I think there'll be an asterisk on it either way, right? Because okay, yeah, either you take it out now, and then you have the asterisk of, oh well, there was only a couple of days for people to prepare, If you take it afterwards, then there's the asterisks of, oh, well, Atlanta FaZe was so good because they had it. So yeah, both way rounds, it's a tough one. I don't know. As Madcat was saying, like, does it actually, like, to what degree does it actually affect the game? If Madcat hasn't really felt that it's affecting him that much, maybe it's not actually the biggest deal. I'd always prefer that we don't have these patches before events. At the end of the day, this isn't really an event. It's just every team plays 2 matches. They're not really going to be that important in the context of the league. It's kind of just a taster for the upcoming events. So I don't really mind. I'm pretty impartial.
That's fair. That's fair. Madcat, anything to add on that?
Oh, not really. You only play 2 games with your pro team, like. And if you're a good pro team, you play with a good pro team. If you're average, you play another average one. If you're shy, you play another shy one. Like you're playing teams in your skill level, so it's not like a Paris team can come out and maneuver some snaking strategy on Atlanta to beat them. Like you play teams in your own. It is what it is. You're playing 2 games if you're a pro team, like. It shouldn't change much. Like you play 2 games, you're not going to play anyone that you haven't played for before.
Yeah, that's fair enough. All right, I think that'll be everything for this episode. So we'll start off with Rab. Anything else left to say from you?
Don't think so. Thanks for having me on again. Massive episode. I'm just hoping the league is sick this season. I've got more confidence now than I had at the start. I'm glad they finally realised that league formats are something that we don't need to do in esports and generally aren't very well received. So clearly there's some people up there somewhere making some intelligent decisions, especially with like the matches we're going to see the upcoming weekend. That there's a lot of spicy and exciting ones. Hopefully it'll be a fun watch. It will be a good taster for the rest of the season. So yeah, I'm more optimistic now than I was. Fair
enough. All right, Madcat, from you?
No, I'm just excited to see this weekend. Good luck to everyone in attendance, and yeah, man. Hopefully it goes well, and hopefully I'll get out there somehow, some way. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Tunn, if you're there and not dying,
I am here and not dying currently. So nothing in particular. We'll be back next week, as far as I'm aware. Where I presume we'll be breaking it down. Obviously, I think I can speak for me and Brice. We're pretty disappointed not to be there, but who the fuck knows what's going on? Let's be honest. We'll have this up on YouTube and all the normal places, along with the 15 other Call of Duty podcasts. So just keep an eye out for it on the EGL Twitter. We'll be retweeting it and whatnot. And if you did miss any of it, that will be up by tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, you'll get it done tonight, mate. Come on.
I'm going crack on there.
Tonight, mate.
No, I'll try and get off tonight.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Rab, Madcat, I think you made this episode fantastic. Certainly been one of my favorites. Yeah. I'm glad to finally be breaking down events again. It's been 5 months since we've had a chance to do this.
Too long.
Yeah. That's a hell of an off-season. 5 months. But yeah, thank you so much. To the question in chat who asked me, what is under the hat, Brice? What is currently under this hat is an unhired piece of talent. So, Jesus! Episode 53. Thank you for all the YouTube comments last week. We'll see you on the Spotify. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.